I had a couple of postgraduate degrees and also worked in a pretty high role in the health sector where I come from. We essentially came here through an agent for a university, and this agent basically told us that life was going to be a breeze here, that it's easy, very easy to get a part-time job when you're studying, and that the adjustment period won't be too long. And we trusted this agent, and I knew that I had to find a job right away, otherwise I was not going to sustain here. And I think one of the fears was that of seeking help, because my biggest fear was that I would be deported, and that would be the worst outcome for myself and my family. I was told sometimes that I was overqualified to look for a part-time job in a petrol station or in a supermarket. So I had to remove my qualifications from my CV when I was applying, remove my experience as well. There was a restaurant around the corner where I told they were looking for someone, and I went in there and I was asked if I'd like to help out in the kitchen, and I said yes. Little did I know that it was paying very little, way less than minimum wage, which was the hourly rate. And I thought if I have my foot in the door, something good might come up, or I might get a better job within the restaurant. This was about 10 years ago, and it was about $2 an hour. I did quite a lot of hours, and that meant I could get myself one meal a day. The employer wasn't very kind. There was quite a bit of verbal abuse and psychological abuse.
That story really captured the reality. Even you might have a degree, you might have a couple of postgraduate degrees, you might speak the language, and you still can quite easily be caught into the system. And so this is the reality of human trafficking around the world.
They were paid nothing for the time that they were here. Some, at very, very odd occasions, were given $20. They were under severe control. They could not speak to others. They were kept within effectively a locked perimeter fence within Mr. Matamata's property. They suffered a high level of physical, emotional and psychological abuse.
According to slaveryfootprint.org, I have 33 slaves currently working to maintain my lifestyle.
As you've heard, issues ranging from minor failings through to outright exploitation were found in our supply chain. However, our primary risk factor remains migrant workers on work visas tied to employers. We've found that despite all our efforts to build trust and provide a safe place to raise concerns, workers on a mission to secure residency are reticent to complain. They're more concerned about the risk to their residency than the cost of exploitative practices.
Non-compliance is increasingly evolving into organised crime.
What we are seeing is a lot of sharing of labour, so we are seeing them come off the orchard into the liquor store, off the liquor store up to the construction site, those sort of things. So there is a lot of crossover, and it may not be the same company, but there is a network linked, and that's why we were talking about it's a much greater organised crime kind of approach.
So we are, in a way, fighting with something that is extremely profitable.
Despite our belief in worker freedoms here in New Zealand, modern slaves are working in our farms, they're in our shopping centres, they're in our restaurants, and they're on our construction sites. New Zealand government and private sector need to make changes. With our capacity to leverage our public and private spend, we should be doing better. We should be doing better now.
Today, we do have the opportunity, the awareness, the wisdom, the innovation and the technology to achieve this human and moral imperative.
But this issue is not competitive and it's not not commercially sensitive, and actually this is something we absolutely need to collaborate on. And as a country of 5 million, if we can't work on this together, then it's a pretty hopeless scenario.
A new mindset and a new business model is necessary to find solutions to challenges that our old mindset created. Adopting and embracing the benefit mindset that lies at the heart of the B Corp movement is critical to effectively respond to the social challenges of our time, including and especially modern slavery.
The government is committed to continuing our work to end modern slavery and worker exploitation.
And that's why you now see we've pushed really hard for the actual industry to take responsibility and ensure they're doing the right thing and making sure exploitation's not in their industry.
In Europe, I'm also working with other unions in Europe right now. They are campaigning for the mandatory due diligence, because some of them are saying that the Anti-Modern Day Slavery Act alone is not enough. Are we going to implement a mandatory due diligence? Or is we're just going to be having a slogan that in New Zealand there is an Anti-Modern Day Slavery Act, so we can actually take in the backs?
So generally we come across and our client will say to us, but we had a statutory declaration. We always smile at that. A statutory declaration from employers who are exploiting their workers is not usually a totally reliable form of compliance assessment.
Key element has been an independent whistleblower process. We've also established a trust fund to support impacted workers in certain circumstances.
Modern Slavery Act has created great information flows for us, right? And great examples of what to do and how to compare companies. So that's great. On the other hand, I think that in New Zealand we need a more comprehensive reporting legislation.
Integrated reporting, and it's something I genuinely encourage you to have a look at if you're at all interested in what holistic reporting approach could look like. So the key point of integrated reporting is telling the story, specific to your organisation in a way that shows how your organisation creates value. And value is being something that either can be measured or perhaps is more difficult to measure, like the benefit you provide a community, but also how your business erodes value, what it's doing that's not necessarily helpful.
We have dealt with the recurring offenders. They see no deterrent in being detected. They don't care if they're prosecuted. If it prevents their revenue stream, they start to care. Their greatest concern also is having to qualify or be accepted into a supply chain management program.
We were so open. We had 14 pages in that RFP about what our supply chain due diligence was going to look like. We told them we were going to Q&A them. We told them we were going to visit. We told them we wanted complete transparency. We wanted to know everything, warts and all. It became very, very clear that the contractor really didn't understand their supply chain. We found the main contractor had subcontracted to a subcontractor, who had then subcontracted to somebody else, who decided that they couldn't deliver it, so they were going to get somebody else to do it. And the person who actually did the work wasn't being paid. And they didn't actually know where to go to get the pay because they didn't actually know how many layers up the supply chain the payment program was.
So I'd say to anybody who procures anything who runs a business, you need to have absolute comfort that at any given time you're maintaining oversight of people doing work on or in or for your business. To understand the work that you're outsourcing. Understand enough to have a sniff of what feels bad. Understand enough to know the weak signals of failure. And if you don't know enough, you can ask. You can go out into the field, you can meet with people in their own environment, and not with a clipboard and a posse of other executives or other directors, but by yourself and have a quiet conversation. And there's 2 questions to ask. How are we doing? And how can we do better?